All right. Okay. Right. Dark Bleatings, everyone. We're here with Adam Millard, who you might have heard of if you haven't already read, because I've been going on about milk for 8 years or something. So, yes, if you haven't already discovered the joy of Adam's books, then you will probably hear me talking about them. So, welcome and thanks for doing this, Adam. How's it going?
My pleasure. It's been too long. By which I mean it's been too long since I got invited to do this. It's not been too long since I saw you, obviously. Maybe you should ask a question.
No, carry on. Yes, we saw each other at FantasyCon recently, a month ago, so that was fun. Because we don't all get to see each other in person very often, unfortunately. Just insulting each other online. That's like normally how I do it.
We just make up for it once a year, where we all get together and insult each other in person.
Yeah. Usually alcohol fueled. Although not me, because I can't get away with drinking at all these days, which is sad. But anyway, so let's just elephant in the room. Let's talk about milk first.
It took you literally 2 minutes to get to it. Don't even ask the question. That's it, because I wrote that years ago. I've been asleep since then. I don't even know what it's about.
Well, let me tell you, and tell everyone else in case they don't know. It probably goes without saying, Adam writes a lot of horror. Everyone I've interviewed is a horror author or horror adjacent, but yes, Adam is a horror author, and also I was just telling my friend one of the first indie authors that I discovered, because for the longest time I didn't know that indie authors were a thing, or that independent presses were a thing, or that self-publishing was a thing. I just thought that everything went through the big five, and there was nothing else. So I remember
I came out with the first batch, and then since then it got sort of cloned, and now they're just indie authors are just coming across on dinghies and
just sailing over from wherever, fictional lands and non-fictional lands alike, to bring us new stories. I knew that this was going to go awry immediately, but let's carry on. So, I saw, Adam, you were trading at a HorrorCon, and I always looked for the authors at HorrorCons, because you don't get as many authors trading at those as you do with, a bookish con, obviously. And I just moseyed on over and had a little peruse. I hadn't read any of your stuff, and I said, oh, milk. That grabbed my attention, because weird. And I just remember asking you what it was about, and you sort of spluttered for a second trying to think about how to word it, and then just advised that I read the back. Where I discovered that this book, one of my favourite books of all time, is about Lou, a man who suddenly starts lactating, and we're living in a world where milk is a rare commodity, and we're in a sort of post-apocalypse dystopian type of scenario.
Yeah, and milk is obviously coming from a man's nipple, and he decides to sell it at his store, which is just like a normal corner shop, really, but with better sandwiches. But it was a long time ago I wrote that, but now it's considered by Kaylee to be the naked lunch of its era.
I think this, I have reread it, so this isn't even just a nostalgia memory or anything, because sometimes you love a thing and then when you watch it or read it again years later you're like, oh, that's not the case for this. I read this a few times. I just remember this is my first Adam Millard, and I was like, okay, so that's an author I'm just going to read forever now, just off the back of one book. And also,
oh, sorry, you have kept up with that promise as well. I think you've pretty much.
Yeah. I got a stash here, Adam. I got a whole bunch of stuff.
It's just for Kaylee. This is not for anyone.
I think that this might have also been the first like sort of like genre blend book that I ever read as well, like the sort of like horror and comedy, and it's a bit bizarre, like kind of bizarro.
That was the point. Was to I was at my full on bizarro phase at that point. I was getting published by Strange House Books and Rooster Republic and Bizarro Pulp Press and things. So I was just like doing these weird. I still do it now, obviously. I mean, you don't stop writing.
It is genuinely really funny as well, because I remember reading this, and I think I actually phoned my mum and said, I'm reading a book that's making me laugh on like every other page out loud. So then I bought her a copy, I bought my cousin a copy, and some friends some copies. I was really adamant, like, everyone needs to enjoy this as much, because I just had such a great this is my favorite reading experience that I've ever had. Still, nothing's topped it. I've never like enjoyed myself reading a book this much since, so it's still the reigning champion.
You genuinely feel that way about Milk?
Yeah.
Wow. See, that means so much. That really does, because when I was writing it, it was just about a fat man who lactated, and I never knew it would change someone's life.
Well, yes, it's changed the way I look at milk forever. I mean, I don't drink it now, admittedly, but
that's all I drink.
Yeah, you'll go one of two ways if you read milk. I think what it is that because I now know you as well, and I've read more of your work, I think that your sense of humor, I get on really well with your particular sense of humor. So when you write something and it's like coming through this strongly in the prose, as well as that you're intentionally doing something funny, because something like Swimming in the Sea of Trees, now I would never describe this as a comedy horror by any means. This is actually a little bit sad. But your personality is still in it, and it comes through the characters, so it's not like inappropriately, you don't get like inappropriate laughs out of it or anything, but like it does strengthen the characters, because like your humor's coming through in like the way that they communicate and things. So yeah, this is a thing that I have grown to really love about your writing, because I thought that this was going to be like, this kind of thing was going to be all of your work, because authors tend to have like a thing. And then the next thing I read of yours was The Susceptibles.
Completely, yeah. No, this is why, in hindsight, a pseudonym would have probably been useful. But
oh no, I'm not like I'm not saying it as a criticism. I think that Keelan Patrick Burke is like this as well, where I've just been talking to someone and said I picked up Sour Candy once. And I thought, oh, that's my first Keelan Patrick book. What a fun, supernatural, weird romp. And then I picked up Kin, and my life was over. So, but I think it's like, I like how diverse your horror is, because you go into all different types of subgenres, which is what makes your work as a whole really interesting to me. And this one really reminded me of The Frighteners. Do you remember that film?
Yeah, that's the sort of feeling I got while I was writing it as well, was being able to see ghosts and interact with them while others couldn't. It just seemed to me at the time a novel concept, was like a certain percentage could.
Mm-hmm. It was scary.
Was it? I don't know. Honestly, you know more than me at this point.
Done my research. So I guess like my first like proper authory question for you is, do you have a focal point for like what you're trying to achieve when you're writing something? Like, are you trying to make your reader like feel a certain way, or are you just kind of like getting the story down? Like, what's kind of like in your head when you're like doing the first draft?
It depends. Like you said, like there are certain things that I do differently with the comedy books, where I will just write down what makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
What makes me laugh, and what if it makes me laugh as I'm writing it and I'm loving it and I've got a big grin on my face as I'm writing it, I feel like I'm naughty, like I'm telling a secret that and I'm hoping that it comes across that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
When people are reading it, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is very much sort of like, kind of like we both know there's a fourth wall and we're both looking through it at the same time. With the serious things, the serious novels that we're writing, the serious stories, more, yeah, I tend to be more focused on the prose and the actual language. It's very different sort of. I find it far more difficult
Mm-hmm.
to remain serious because every ounce of me wants to put a joke in. Every ounce of me wants to just make a scene funny, and I'm writing obviously because I've got such a large category of serious books.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea how many jokes I've deleted out of series because I write it and I go, you're not writing that thing right now. You're not writing that thing. You've got to take that out. You can't. This is a serious moment. But sometimes that will creep in anyway because we use humour to sort of break down serious moments, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I deal with something.
Yeah, you are really good at like separating the two. That is an art that I have not yet mastered, because my last collection I did serious horror comedy, serious like alternating, and the number of reviews I got where people said, oh, there's like every story has humor, and I was like, oh no.
Every story, no, it wasn't. There was some in there that really freaked me out, and there was some that I was like, this is serious, But then you throw a curveball with the next story, and that's the way that that I deal with it as well. Like with my collections, try to include a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think collections are a really good way for you to um like just show people your range.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
fun.
It's kind of like exactly like like a performance. Like, look, I can do this, but listen to this, and also this. And if you can do 2 or 3 things at once, then you're just showing off.
Do you do you prefer like one style over the other? Like, do you prefer to write when you know that you're being funny than when you're being serious?
Thing is, I don't know. I'm being until I sort of read it back, and I'll go, oh my god. During the editing phase, I'll read back, and I'll be like, I can't say that. Even no, seriously, I will take with the new book, Die Lethal. There was a joke on page 1, on the very first page, and I was just like, it's too much on page 1. That's too much for page 1. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, literally, I cannot say that on page 1 because I'm going to lose half of everybody before they even get to page 2. So I took it out, or I toned it down a little bit. I think I toned it down because it was a pretty sick joke. And I thought, no, I'm not going to be that one. So I took it out. I know when I'm going a little bit too far. But with I prefer to write the funny stuff, I suppose, because it just comes a lot easier to me.
Mm-hmm.
The absurd, the weirdest thing that I can think of, and just run with it. If I'm writing in a real world situation, and I've got 12 tabs open, researching street names, shapes of buildings and things, It's a lot more serious. So I think it's more the funniest stuff I enjoy more. But that's not to say I have a lot of serious books still in me. So.
Yeah, I think this is another reason why I'm such a fan of yours, because I think that you're like I really think that you're one of the best, especially with the comedy stuff, and it's like the same kind of vein as like what I kind of go for. So I like look up to your work as like really good examples. Maybe that's why this has been like my like pride and joy book that I love, because I don't think I'm ever going to write anything as funny as this. To me, like, I find myself funny. I'm not saying that I am a funny person, but I do know that when I'm writing something that I think is funny, I'm cackling like a witch behind the closed door of my office, and then I have to come out and explain, oh, I was just finding my own stuff really funny.
Yeah.
Everyone else can be the judge later.
Everyone knows that you have one of the best sense of humours in the,
Me?
Yeah, everybody knows that you've got a great sense of humour.
Oh, thanks. Well,
yeah, everybody loves, I'm speaking for everybody. They've given me permission. They've given me permission.
Oh, thank you, everyone. I find and I connect with your serious horror stuff as well, because when I'm writing serious horror, I think I get more of a sense of achievement if I think I've done it well, but I don't really enjoy doing it because I go to like quite horrible places in my head to like, you're trying to convey certain things to your reader and you kind of have to go there yourself. And then especially if you're basing things on your like real experience, I've mined from my life a few times, like crazy things that have happened, and you've got to kind of put yourself back there to do it. So if you're writing about a man who's lactating, for example, it's probably not going to put you in as dark a headspace as
lived it like I did.
Well, I was going to say it does feel quite authentic, so, and it is quite a weird idea to just come up with out of nowhere, so I did wonder.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So, I will move on from Milk, I promise, but I have to ask you, so, whenever it occurred to you that this was the premise, oh, I got a guy, he's going to lactate, did you know how far you were going to go with the milk itself?
No, I had an idea that, because I grew up with those the kind of melt films of the 80s and early 90s, the street trash and things like that. So I just wanted to sort of do my own version of one of those kind of mutant trauma type films
Mm-hmm.
of the late 80s, early 90s, and make it as pretty disgusting and also funny as well at the same time. It's like, I'm surprised they haven't been, filmed.
I
should have made it into it's been out now how many years? So.
You never know. I think this would be such a great film because the if it was played straight like Airplane, like if it wasn't made like it's a comedy, because it does the level of absurdity, mounting absurdity as you go. That's why it's so funny, because it's so ridiculous, but because you've set it in like quite real world scenario. It's not like we're on an alien planet or something. I think that's why it's so, because it's ridiculous, but you'd like manage to build it quite realistically. So yeah, I don't know. I just love it. I love it. So I was so happy when you said you were re-releasing this, because I stupidly, in a bid to make another fan out of it, lent my original copy to someone who never returned it. So I was really joyous.
I will send you a copy a week if you keep selling it the way you are.
Yeah, okay, so can I move on to my second favorite book of yours? I do. Do I pick a second favorite? Yeah, I do have a second favorite. It's The October Boys.
Oh, okay.
I really, really loved it. Because, you know, I've always thought ice cream vans are a bit sinister anyway, if I'm being honest.
Cream mans, they're terrible. Ice cream mans.
Yeah, and but they're always around in the winter around where I live, Adam.
Ice cream men are. Do you know? I've never heard one in my street. I live
No,
on quite a main road, and I've been here now for about 3, going on 4 years. And I don't think I've ever heard an ice cream tinkle or whatever they call them.
yeah, I mean, we do have them here in the summer a lot, but I remember last year
Very, very sneaky.
I was the ice cream van. I'd hear it, but it didn't normally stop on my street because our street's a little awkward. You can't really park. It's not an ideal place for someone to try and stop. And it stopped for it was like 7 or 8 days in a row. It turned up at like 8 o'clock in November. And I was absolutely convinced that they weren't selling ice cream. I was looking up.
Nobody's selling ice cream in November.
So I was like looking out of my window trying to see if they were like selling drugs or something, because I was like, there is no way. And then lo and behold, what do I see but my neighbor come out, and I was like, oh, what's he buying? And then he did walk off just with an ice cream cone, and I thought, okay.
Yeah, an ice cream cone filled with drugs and laundered money.
No, because I was watching him make it from where I was stood, and it was just ice cream, and I was just like, I don't know. I'm still suspicious, even though I just watched him like get the cone out of the packet and put the ice. Like, there wasn't anything nefarious about it, but I was still like, there's something weird. So, and the comparison that I recently made is that I think that fans of Stephen King's It would really enjoy this.
It gets that because of the coming of age and the time period between the.
Yeah, so it's like entirely different story, but it's got that sort of like cyclical evil kind of thing going on, and then like boys coming back as men to like face off, and but you've raised the stakes. I don't want to give any spoilers, but there is an extra element. There is like a time limit on it. And yeah, I think that like fans of It that don't want to read a 1,000-page book and they would like that kind of feel, but in a.
Please read my shorter ripoff. Please do.
Yeah. Not a rip-off, unless you were trying to rip it off, and in that case, it's still good. So I think my favorite thing about this was the like the supernatural evil and everything. It's just like the kind of premise and plot that I really enjoy. I prefer supernatural or just like really weird horror stories, but the relationship between the group that you've made just felt really, it took me back to school.
Yeah. I think that was the most important part. It was to sort of talk like the children, but that's how I talk still.
Yeah.
I haven't grown out of that yet. It's like I've still got that vibe with my wife, even though wedgies and shit.
Yeah, I always think couples always have their particular brand of banter, don't they? And if they were like a fly on the wall in your house, they'd probably report back to other people that like disturbing things are happening.
Things going on in that Millard household, but to us it's just like normal.
Yeah, my husband and I have a running gag where every time I've tried to explain it to other people, they're like, "Do you like each other?" I'm like, "Yes, we're very in love."
But yeah, this is our thing.
This is why it's so funny. But yeah, you did have like the boys felt like they had a shorthand with each other, and then like when they get back together as adults, it's still there. So I really really enjoyed that aspect, because I always say this when I'm interviewing authors, that I could forgive a crappy plot as long as the characters are really good, but I couldn't forgive a great plot if the characters were shit. Luckily, you do both really well, but
I mean, to be fair, I mean, to me, I come up with most of the characters before they even fit into a plot. It's like I have a whole list of characters ready to go, sort of, and seeing which one fits specifically in which book. But when I'm writing about young people growing up, and then you've got to write both. You want to maintain the elements of them when they were children, like if they had a specific mannerism, or if you just need to make sure that it's still there, because it never goes away. You know, we grow up, but we still keep our lisps and our limps and our sweaty balls.
Yeah, everyone's got like their little personality quirks that never, like, you never grow out of certain things. It kind of, yeah.
Never goes out, you know.
That's really interesting that you have, characters that don't have stories yet. I think you're the first person that said that to me.
No. I've got people that I've cut out of other stories that I would probably revisit. A lot of my, you probably heard this a lot. Like, there's a lot of autobiography in characters. We all write what we know, and we all write, who we perhaps once were, or so a lot of my characters have elements of me in them,
mm-hmm.
but not entirely, not all at once, because that then just becomes autobiography. And I'm not ready to write that yet.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of me in like most of my characters. The problem is, because I'm quite happy to use real life stuff that's happened to me because it's things I've experienced. So if I get an opportunity to, I've spent some time in hospital, so there are certain hospital things that if people who've never been in a hospital stay like would have assumptions that aren't right. So sometimes I like to. I remember having a feeding tube removed once after I'd had a lot of surgery, and I read books where people have a feeding tube pulled out and they're just like, oh, out it goes. And I was like, oh, it's not a quick little, like, and you can really make quite disturbing fiction out of that, or use it for a horror scenario quite easily, because it's really not a pleasant experience.
I don't know whether it's the same with you, like, do you kind of want to experience as much reality as possible to make your writing more authentic? I'm saying that, like, I had an operation last year, and like there were certain things that I remembered from that operation, like when they were sliding the drains out of the side of me.
Yeah.
I could feel it coming from here all the way down and pain and the discomfort, and they were just like, see, that was quick. And I'm like, yeah, it was quick. It wasn't pleasant, was it?
Yeah, it's quick if you're not on the receiving end of it, but it does, even if it is only a few seconds, those are the longest few seconds, because it's disturbing. There's like
especially if you're like me and you're watching, but you experience that. You feel quick to deal with it in a fictional way would be to experience as much as possible. I mean, I'm drawing the line at like murder and stuff. I'm not saying.
Yeah, don't do crimes, everyone.
But yeah, it's nice to experience things for knowledge.
Yeah, or like if you experience something that is upsetting, at least you can use it later.
Yeah. So, and then somebody who's also got it or experienced it will go, it's exactly like that. I remember it's exactly like that. And then like you've sort of made a sort of connection with with somebody about the truth.
Yeah, that's something that is really nice. Well, maybe, I mean, we have some like weird things in common. Like, I don't know that, I don't think I've talked to anybody else in my real life that knows what it feels like to have a drain pulled out of your side. It's so weird. But so maybe, I don't know. I think maybe there's like I don't know. You kind of form like an empathetic bond with a reader, don't you? So I feel like I connect with your writing because I feel like I understand your characters, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think you're really good at communicating, better than me, because I can't think of the end of that sentence. Yeah, when you're writing something, so when you're writing from experience and you have to go somewhere that's a bit upsetting, like you're using something to really like push your story or create something with a character, what's it like for you, like after you've finished writing the thing? Do you have to go watch something funny?
Yeah, do you know, it's yeah, there is quite a bit of mood setting involved with preparing to write something serious, more, darker, more bleak. It's mainly influenced by what I might be reading at the time, rather than what I'm watching. If I'm planning on writing a serious short story, then I'll spend 2 or 3 weeks reading similar, elements, like similar stories with similar elements that I'm aiming, setting the tone sort of in a way. But with the funny stuff, I always watch funny stuff anyway. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. I'll sit through Family Guy, even though I've seen all of them 12, 15 times. I'll watch Airplane every time it's on because it's one of the best films ever made. I'll even watch Scary Movie, hilarious, things like that. But and obviously because getting prepared for FancyCon, I spent a lot of time with Young Frankenstein because I was on the Young Frankenstein panel, so I was watching a lot of Mel Brooks as well. But I can watch that stuff all year round, and horror I'll watch all year round. The only thing I won't watch is like Hallmark Christmas films, even though there's like the channels right this second, there are women being tricked into relationships by humble men with designs on opening a cookie factory in some Montreal district or whatever. That's the one thing I was going to write. I was going to do a spoof of like the Hallmark Christmas movies, because they do only have one plot. We all know that. The one plot is the woman's with the absolute arsehole man. She goes to this place and she meets the nice man, but he's got more money. Yeah, but he likes Christmas trees. It's like the same, and there are like dozens of channels right now downstairs. Probably she's watching one, and I can't be. It's put me off Christmas forever.
Oh no!
I'm glad she's a Jehovah's Witness, because otherwise I would have a tree.
Well, that actually leads us on quite nicely. I would like to talk just a little about the Human Santapede. So, I heard, because I listened to you on a different podcast, that you had
I nearly got into legal trouble.
Yeah, you got into some sort of legal dispute because of the Human Centipede.
Did they try
to tell us?
They tried to sue me for writing the Human Santapede. This it came out of left field, to be fair, because I thought parody, I could get away with it. Satire, I knew that I could get away with it. What I couldn't get away with was the design. The illustration, the three people joined, and you see the through pipe.
Yes.
They tried to trademark that, right? Saying that I wasn't allowed to use it and that they wanted royalties and cease and desist. They were threatening me with. But I know for a fact that Tom Six actually liked the book. He messaged me and, he was like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But it's the people behind Six Productions that came after me. And I was like, so, I mean, I was frightened at the time. I'm not going to lie, because I mean, we're going back 10 years now, and I was just a small fish, finding my way. I was Nemo, right? Just like treading in the waters, and then all of a sudden I get this email, and I was like, oh, yeah, gone too far. But do you know what happens when you go too far? Is you push it further.
Yes.
So I wrote Baby Rudolph as a sequel.
Oh my god.
This is the Human Santapede sequel, which is
pull it back a little bit because it's blurry. Yeah, oh, that's bad. Yeah, I could just Your camera's insane. It's trying to blur out this majestic design.
Censored by my own phone. This is the sequel to the Human Santapede. Everybody knows Baby Reindeer, but have you ever heard it from the point of view of Rudolph, who's getting stalked by a fat reindeer? She's Scottish as well, so that makes it even funnier. And that's coming out on December the 1st. And so if Martha in real life, I know you are, Martha, if you want to come and sue me, I could do with the publicity.
Good old Martha. Well, I'm delighted by that news because I didn't know about that. And I can't say that I have heard that story told from Rudolph's perspective.
It's set in the same world as the Human Santapede. You've got all the same characters, Finkelfoot and the Fat Bastard. Jessica Claus, obviously, still stripping. I feel like I should just add just in case people haven't read. Jessica Claus is a stripper in Land of Christmas, but she's still doing that, and it's got all of the same little people. Am I allowed to say little people?
I think that's the correct term, yes.
Elves.
Oh, I mean, elves are different, Adam.
Elves are magical.
Yeah.
I know the difference between elves and... I don't go out and see a little person and go, you must be an elf.
I was just getting Charlie from It's Always Sunny vibes from what you just said. I was very worried all of a sudden about people dressed as elves.
No,
go on.
That's the thing. All elves are little people, but not all little people are elves. That's what I'm trying to say. You've got to be very careful.
Okay. Because it's magic.
Anyway, Baby Rudolph, the sequel to the Human Santapede, 10 years after the Human Santapede, is finally coming out on December the 1st, and you can pre-order it from all good Amazons.
All good Amazons. Okay. I would like to humbly request, so I'm going to quickly circle back onto something you said earlier about the amount of things that you have to cut out when you're writing a serious horror thing and you're thinking of jokes, you cut them out. I would like to humbly request some sort of extended edition where you just include all that stuff at the back.
I know, and I was going to... Do you know what I was going to do with the stuff that I cut out of Die Lethal? I was going to actually leave it in the paperback,
Mhm.
take the Kindle digital versions, but I didn't. In the end, I decided to maybe, like you say, there should be a. I did Gods and Mobsters. I had footnotes and things. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like extra features.
Nobody's read that book except for you and Benjamin Kurt Unsworth and me.
Oh,
That's
Ben.
it. That's it. That's it.
Um,
Brush with my wife. That's it.
there'll be more. There'll be more. There'll be more. So there's a review upcoming for that, but I've scheduled quite far ahead with my reviews in case anyone's wondering. If you ever notice an Amazon review from me go up and then there isn't one on the website, it's because it's scheduled for probably 3 months from now. So I would like to talk a little bit with you, because I think you're really good at these things, about the distinction between writing something that's sort of like in the original comedy bracket and then satire or parody. So how does it, hang on, form words, Kaylee. So do you just like see a thing and then think, oh, I have an idea?
I'll see. I mean, how long have I had to wait, right, from the Human Santapede, right? I could have written a sequel, and this has been my Christmas bestseller for the last 10 years. It's already selling all of my other books again, right? And I could have written in between certain things that have come up, certain ideas where I thought, oh, that would make a good Human Centipede too, or I could just, It took a little known Netflix series that I watched earlier this year to make me go, that's perfect, because reindeer, Rudolph, right? How do we do it, right? And then I just straight away knew that that's what I was going to do for Christmas this year, was ruin everyone else's.
It's an out of context quote.
Yeah. Only play that part. You can.
That's the title of this video now. Yeah, there's something to, so I guess the distinction between parody and satire, I suppose parody is sort of like it's usually done in good spirit and jest. Something like Scary Movie would be like a parody.
Lampooning something, and something, but also with affection as well. It's like mock it, but don't punch down. Just still make it, really
like
harmless. Like otherwise, it's bullying. I think it was Terry Pratchett who said that. I think if you're punching down, then basically you're bullying. But if you're just satirizing something the way that
Do you think there's a difference with, because parodies are normally made by fans of the original thing that they're parodying, so they like sort of just
there's a certain love involved.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like exaggerating some of like the elements to make it even funnier. Whereas I think there is a bit of a line with satire where I view that as that's more like a humorous critique, if that makes sense to me normally. So I do think like your stuff falls more in the parody range, because it does feel like all in good fun. Everyone's friends.
Exactly, and like you say, most of my characters are caricatures. If I'm parodying something or somebody, like in Die Lethal, obviously I'm parodying the 80s action films, and I'm making everything more, bigger or exaggerated than it actually was during that time. But that's how I remember it, anyways. Like Steven Seagal's always been fat and useless. It's like maybe I'm remembering it wrong, or did that only happen recently? I don't know.
I don't know. I still wouldn't say that to his face, though.
I'm going to use it, whatever. He did release a reggae record. I know that.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a game called Broforce? Have you seen Broforce? It's a game, and
No.
anyone who you'd love it. Anyone who enjoys like the 80s action kind of thing, just get Broforce. It's just it's majestic. I'll leave it for people to find. It's got all of your favorites though. So let's dip in very quickly to the ultimate zombie quiz book.
Oh yeah, why not? Because I like, if you're gonna have your fingers in everything, then you may as well.
Now, I love books. I'm a sucker for stuff like this because I like to pride myself on being quite the zombie fan, and I like to be quizzed because I usually do really well on any zombie-related quiz, and there are 501, I think. Yeah, 501 questions from the world of movies, TVs, and video games. And I have to tell you, I nailed it, Adam.
Did you get all of them?
No, not all of them.
It's supposed to be 500 questions, but my editor's shit.
It's thrown me off.
Sorry,
I especially like the tagline on the back is "Have you got the brain?" Yes. I don't really have a comment on this apart from I just want people to know it exists. People who are like me that really enjoy this kind of stuff. I went through a phase of this is something I bought because I was so obsessed with zombies at one point that I think I got this when I was still doing my degree, possibly because I wrote my dissertation on The Walking Dead and angled everything I possibly could towards zombie fiction. And I'm one of those nerds that started buying, like academic books about like zombie theory and things like that, like academic articles and essays and things.
Roughly around the same period, I think, we'd have both been like sort of researching Max Brooks and doing all, just like really getting into it. I had a shed full of rice at one point.
Well, in case of the apocalypse?
I was praying for it. I had a shed full of rice. I had cans stacked up next to my lawnmower. I was ready.
Right, this is really important actually. This is probably this is going to have to be I'm going to have to bring this back into every author interview. Do you have a zombie apocalypse plan, and do you have a separate plan in case it's fast zombies? Very important.
Yeah, no, that's a very important point. I've always thought, right, one of the best places to be during a zombie apocalypse, head for the nearest garden centre. You've got like one of these garden centres like near you that does everything. And you see there, you've got weapons, there's shovels, there's garden centres, they're shutters all around, and if you get bored, usually they've got lots of books on air fryers and stuff. So you'll never run out of recipes to read.
Good to know. And they'll have like information about plants and stuff. Do you get really important to you?
You just grow everything indoors. You've got all your greenhouse equipment in there, and those places. That's where I'd head, would be to the nearest. I've thought about this too much.
No, is there such thing as thinking about it too much?
And if it's fast zombies, then at that point, to be fair, I've always wanted to see what it was like to get eaten. So
I don't think it would be nice, you know.
I'm winning either way.
I really hope if the end comes in zombie form, I really hope it's not rage zombies.
Rage zombies are the worst.
There's not really a lot you can do if it's rage zombies.
I mean, we've got the 28 Days Later's coming out again next year and the year after, I think, or maybe those. I mean, they say they're not even zombies, but
They're zombies.
whatever they are, you know, they're nasty. I want a fair shot.
Yeah.
I want them to be walking. I want them to be Walking Dead zombies or Dawn of the Dead zombies. I want to be able to put pies in their faces, like in the film, and move into a shopping centre or something. Jason.
Yeah. I have a plan, a contingency in case it's fast ones, but it is dependent on you getting to the place quick enough. But what you want, everyone, is a weekender sailing yacht. Because they're small, but you could live on them. You just go away from the shore just a little bit, and then if you have to, you can make supply runs, but you can see the mainland.
It's kind of like what happened in Tim Levin's novel recently. Was it Tim Levin's novel? Well, sorry, Adam Neville's novel. I read them at
God.
And where they go slightly offshore, but they can go back to the. Yeah, I've always thought that maybe just like hover around and do little trips to the Greg's.
To Greg's, yeah. Hopefully, they'll still be in operation. Doesn't matter what's going on. They'll still be open. I don't think that you could get. I don't think you could pull off in a little boat quick enough if it's rage zombies though, because they'll run and jump on when you're trying to.
Can they swim though? Are they swimming zombies? Are they swimming angry rage zombies, or are they just liable to drown?
Probably not. But if they're the undead kind, they'd walk along the bottom, and then they'd float after a couple of days. I looked this up once.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. Yeah.
You know, I really hope if ever like you're especially a horror author, if your computer gets seized and they look at your internet search history, they're gonna think you're a psycho, because the stuff I've Googled for the sake of knowing things for stories I'm writing and how long does it take a body to float, I remember typing and thinking, oh God, I hope no one close to me suddenly goes missing, because
Yeah, when did I do it? I did it not long ago, and I was writing a story about the things I was Googling. I was Googling certain things, but I Googled them in such a specific order, it looked like I was leaving a paper trail.
Yeah, like a timestamp.
Like, no, you Googled this at 2 minutes past, then you Googled this at 5 minutes past. So where's the body? And I was like, I actually thought about it as I was doing it, because I was doing it in the order that a real psycho would do it. And I thought, yeah, how would you explain yourself, really, if they knock the door?
Hopefully, if you're actually writing at the time, because Microsoft Word saves like the time that you last saved or something, so maybe that would save you.
But I saw another thing, because I watch a lot of true crime stuff. I saw another thing where they got this guy in and they were like, look, you pretty much you've Googled how to bury her. You've Googled how much salt to use to, how deep she's got. And I'm like, maybe he's just a writer. And
you never know.
And he's telling the truth. I'm on the villain side until proved otherwise. Always the same.
The fact that you said villain, though.
Yeah, I know, but villain can, until it's like, did you watch the recent what was it? I forget what I was talking about now.
Crimes.
This is not good interview technique. I would fold under a jury.
It's not really on you to make the interview coherent, Adam. That's kind of like my. If anyone's led the side down here, it's me. So don't you worry about it.
That you're leaving for me, to be fair.
I'm gonna veer out of the true crime thing now before we start getting into a weird rabbit hole of stuff. In terms of your, because I'm just wondering, in the world of fiction, what kind of inspires you and stuff. Do you read and watch outside of horror very much?
Yeah, I do actually. I watch a lot of. Do you know what I watched before this interview? Married at First Sight. No, I seriously. I like to watch other relationships crumble. It's a joy of mine. I really want to see more of it, if anything. No, I do. I watch whatever my wife's watching. I didn't used to be into EastEnders until they all started killing everybody as well. Spoiler alert: Keanu's dead. Who'd have known? But yeah, so now I have to watch EastEnders every day, as well as Married at First Sight. And I know I'm a Celebrity. Get Me Out of Here starts next week. It's Sunday, apparently at 9.
Sponsored by.
You know, that for 3 weeks, and pretend I know who G.K. Barry is. Have you ever heard of G.K. Barry?
Can't say I have.
This is what she's being advertised as, because this is I'm a Celebrity, right? Podcaster and YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
Right, and she's on I'm a Celebrity. I will put you forward for next year.
Thank you. I think at the moment it's totally realistic because I've got like 700 subscribers now.
Exactly, and that's more than GK, but no, she's got over 1 million. But whatever, she's not as entertaining. Who knows who she is? Nobody. I didn't know. But I know that I'm going to have to watch that for the next couple of weeks. So when I do finally squeeze some actual horror in, I'm very limited. We did watch The Substance.
I haven't seen it yet, but it is on.
I won't spoil it, but yeah, Demi Moore. She's old.
I feel like I'm not going to like it because everyone else is saying it's really good, and I'm one of those people that generally hates most new stuff, especially if everyone's going, "It was amazing."
Thing with this is as well, though, and I did love it. I thought it was really good compared to some of the shit I've watched previously.
Don't spoil it for anyone watching, though.
Spoil it. That's why I'm very good at what I do. I've had media training. I've stopped dribbling and everything. The thing about it is it knows what it's doing as well. It's
Okay. So what's your favorite type? I think in terms of horror films, I don't actually like this term, but I like elevated horror. Like The Witch and Midsummer and stuff.
Horror.
The stuff that lots of people find really boring. That's kind of like my jam at the moment.
No, I do like if it's got a meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, as well, you can go a little bit too far with allegories and things. It's like everybody. I love like Midsummer. I love Hereditary. These are good sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you go too far and say, I don't even know whether you'd class it as horror, but Mother.
Oh yeah.
Which I think it goes a little bit beyond, and I class myself as an intelligent person, but when it starts getting theological, I start to lose track a little bit. Certain things that go a little bit too elevated for the sake of it. You're not gonna win an Oscar. You may as well make a Terrifier 2 anyway, or a Terrifier 3. Horror's not going to win an Oscar, right? As good as I think The Substance is this year, and I haven't seen Heretic yet. With Hugh Grant, but I know that that's meant to be good as well. These aren't films that are going to be up for awards. No, it may be, the magazine awards, and they're not going to be up for the Oscars. And it doesn't matter how try to make it. Longlegs, I thought it was all right. I thought it was okay, but everyone was talking about it being Oscar material, and
I think it's just because people were comparing it to Silence of the Lambs, which did well.
It won everything in 90. It was there, and I don't think since then Misery won for Kathy Bates, but I just don't see a horror film winning any Oscars or awards. So what they need to do, what they do for us fans, which is just entertain and be good.
Yeah, I agree. There's too much snobbery in the actual industry for people to acknowledge that horror's got so much merit. Yeah, I always notice that if anything in horror ever actually wins anything at the Oscars, they just say it's a thriller.
Thriller, then it's no longer a horror; it's a thriller.
I see people arguing all the time about whether or not Silence of the Lambs is a thriller or a horror. I'm like, I mean, it fits both categories.
Well, it was basically a serial killer thriller or a psychological thriller. That's what you get, psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Until a slasher wins it.
Yeah, go Freddy. We're all behind you.
I see.
So what kind of stuff do you like to read, and do you get ideas for stories when you're reading?
Yeah, I do read. Do you know what I'm reading at the moment? And this is like completely removed from horror, as far as I'll go, anyways. I'm working my way through Brandon Sanderson's whatever you want to call it. So I've done the first 2 Mistborn eras, and I'm about to move on to the Stormlight Archive. He has a way of writing very addictive stories. I'm not saying he's a brilliant prose at writing, but he's not. That's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to just tell a good story as well. And it's difficult to put him down. He's like, I don't know whether you've read any of the Mistborn novels or.
No.
I don't. I try not to get involved in like really long fantasy series or fantasy worlds, especially not when he's writing at least a dozen of them every 6 months.
Yeah, he's fast.
Yeah, no, he's he's what my mum would have called special, probably. He's very, very good at turning them out. But do you know what I read as well? I actually write more in a day than he does.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this got me thinking. Maybe I should start, banging out 1,000-page fantasy novels every 2 months and then retire to the Bahamas. But I thought about it, but then I've changed my mind.
Do a fantasy series and bring Lou back.
That could work, actually.
It could. That's an easy genre crossover. Just bring him to a new audience. That's what it needs.
It's technically fantasy as well. As I said, it's not really horror. I mean, there's elements
It's a bit of everything.
Yeah, it's got a Mad Max vibe as well.
It's a psychological thriller.
Psychological thriller. So that's it's up for something.
I think now that I've managed to successfully circle us all the way back around to Milk, I think this is probably a good place to end this conversation for today.
The best point of you should close this now before I get into any trouble or anything, because I think I've been very successful at dodging all the bullets that you've been throwing at me.
I've really been trying to take you down as well, but
you've been throwing coming at this and that, and now you flag off Brandon Sanderson live on whatever, and it ain't happening, girl.
You're lucky you're in punching distance.
That girl, even that girl sounded offensive.
Yeah. Everyone pile on in my defense. Is there anything that you would like to promote in particular right now?
Well, I think you got Milk covered, but
I mentioned it.
Well, the October Boys is available every, all year round from Crystal Lake Entertainment or Crystal Lake Publishing. I've got Die Lethal came out a couple of weeks ago, and Baby Rudolph comes out December the 1st, but is available to pre-order now. And you can also get signed copies of all of my books available from my website, which...
Yes, I will link that in the description for everyone that wants to stalk Adam online a little bit and order his ways, his signed ways.
Yeah, if you want a signature, then I have no problem with it.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks for doing this, Adam. I've actually been trying to get Adam on here for a while.
I know we should have, and then we were like, well, we're going to see each other at FancyCon anyway. And then I thought, let's leave it. I haven't been well. We've both been COVIDed up.
Yeah, we got vidded.
She had it, right? Did you have it? And then my wife had it. So I'm starting to wonder if you've been with my wife. I don't know what's happening.
No comment.
I've had it, and then she did a test, and then like about 2 days later I thought I'm going to do a test because I don't feel well, I don't feel right. So for about 2 weeks I just cannot lift my arm. I don't know whether that's anything to do with it, but this arm I can't, which is a nightmare because I've had to change a light bulb today. Why am I rambling? Can we just close this?
We can, sure, but I was just going to let you go. Keep going. Okay, so before Adam says anything to further incriminate himself, we're gonna wrap it up here. Hopefully I can get you on for a part 2 in 2025, Adam, because there's other stuff I want to talk to you about, but I've already held you for an hour captive here.
We should make some more permanent fixture. I think I should be like part of the team or something.
Okay, well I'll discuss it with the tribe. Just my brother, but I'm sure he'll approve. Get you a little goatee avatar for the website. What can we call you? Milk Goat.
Milk Goat. I've been called.
I'm sure I could think of something more clever than that, but that was, that's what you're for as far as the tribe's concerned. Okay, we're hanging up before I say something weirdly incriminating. Yeah, okay, no more words now. Hope everyone enjoyed this.
I had this beard when I started.
I don't know, I'm growing one in now. Okay, bye everybody and bleed.